remember the first time I rode it in 2021. I obviously didn't know the island at all. I hadn't been here, so it was a completely new experience for me. Had no idea what the roads were going to be like. I'd obviously got a route profile, that was no problem, but I didn't have any more information about the course. And I remember searching for a video, and it's very easy to find videos of the mountain road, but most of them are motorcycle related, and when you look at somebody powering up the hill on a TT motorbike, it has a slightly different feel to when you're going up it on a push bike. So your speed and everything is completely different. So although it was a bit of a help, it wasn't much. So I just thought I'd put this little video together with a commentary, just showing my impressions of how you tackle the climb of the mountain road up towards the summit of Snæfell. So I hope you find it useful. You're already climbing before you get to the start. The start is by this little residential road just here. So where the number 24 is, that's it. So off we go. I'm just going to ride this at sort of tempo. I'm not going to try and ride it at the same pace that I would in the actual event. So I'll probably be averaging about 240 watts or something like that, I would guess. The first section is the hardest, so you need to measure your effort, and at the same time you can't take it easy, because you lose a lot of time on the lower bit. So approaching the hairpin, I'd be thinking about the wind. The wind today is more or less sort of west-southwesterly, I think, and so it's coming at me more or less as a headwind, slightly from the right. And on open roads, obviously I'm going to be more careful, but on closed roads I'd be on the right hand side going into this, for obvious reasons. It flattens out the bend. As it is, I was lucky, so I was able to at least take it down the middle. Lovely view of Ramsey to my left. I'm not sure how much of that you'll be getting on the camera. Started really hard here, and you've now done just over 600 metres, and you're starting to suffer, and you're probably going to be recognising your mistake. At the moment I'm averaging 270 watts. So that's about 4.5 watts per kilo for me. I love this climb, but it's a busy road. The Isle of Man's a fantastic place for cycling. Drivers are much more considerate here than they are in the UK, I find. Much more used to driving around cyclists as well, and that's great, but the mountain road is regarded as a bit of a racetrack, and you'll get less patience, a lot less, on this road, so I don't spend a lot of time on it. it is why the Fondo time trial is so appreciated. Point, it's obviously still a very significant climb. If you watch the gradient data, you'll see that it flattens off after a bit. Anybody that doesn't know the hill and is riding it completely cold, I wouldn't recommend that. I'd probably be panicking a bit at this point. Spend quite a bit of their time with cloud on the top. It kind of hits the island and rises, and you get these clouds that form, and they're often just about bang on a level with the top of the climbs. So quite often the finish line is in cloud, and if you're riding the time trial, I would recommend making sure that you have some kind of windproof item to put on, otherwise you're going to freeze. Gradient shifts just very slightly as you go up, and it's worth taking advantage of the easy bits. Just spin the pedals up a bit, build the speed back up. Quite often when I've caught riders here at Gooseneck, they've been on the far right side of the road, and as I said lower down, I'd recommend not doing that, because you can probably see the gradient is a lot more severe over there. So I would suggest holding it towards the left. So that's 2 kilometres to Gooseneck. And at this point you're kind of thinking there's an awfully long way to go, and yeah, there is, but it's not this great. There you go. I mentioned that the mountain road is a racetrack. There's your evidence. So at the moment I'm still holding 270 watts, so you know I'm running at 4.5 watts per kilo. I've now got a stunning view of Ramsey to my right, but unfortunately, of course, the camera's not going to get that. Road really kicks here. If you've overdone it low down, you'll be struggling here. Thought I wasn't getting much traffic coming past me. That'll be why. We're now through 3 kilometres. I'm on 3.15 actually. Sorry, I didn't give you a nod on 3. Still going up hard, but not quite as hard as that bit around Gooseneck. that's exactly 4 kilometres. It's taken me just over 15 minutes to get to here. Quite a noticeable headwind today. The climb is reasonably sheltered, but when you get to this point and it starts to ease, you also enter a sort of valley between North Wirral on the left and Snæfell on the right, and you do get exposed to the wind more if it's in that direction. So as you can see, we're coming up on the cloud base now. Gradient's now easing considerably. But we're definitely still going up. My average power is actually now 272, so I've done a little bit more than I was intended to, really. Because top end tempo should for me would be 260. That's absolute top end. So sweet spot for me, so I'm a bit above that. So I'm just going to ease off a bit along here. If you're doing the actual time trial, obviously you don't want to be. That's 5 kilometres, and really you've got the hard stuff out of the way now, so although you've got 6k left to go, those 6k are considerably easier. So already my average speed's starting to pick up. So it's just over 17 kilometres an hour now. But I can really feel that headwind. 6 kilometres now, 6.15. Here it's a bit of a battle of wills, because if you've gone hard enough down at the bottom, then you're going to be struggling at this point, but you've just got to keep it rolling, obviously. So you can probably see from that windsock and from the cloud rolling over, as it has been, that wind is actually coming from the left, not the right. Because of that crosswind. So through 7 kilometres now, 7.25 actually. Sort of kicks again just here. Not sure how much of this you'll be able to hear. in the 2023 event, the cloud was down lower. It was a pretty horrific weekend for the Fondo generally, but this bit, the Saturday time trial, was actually okay, but the cloud was low, and here it was quite difficult to see very much. Just through 8 kilometres now, 8.25, so I'm starting to imagine the end. I'm going downhill. Normally I'd be picking some speed up here, but today I'm not really, because I'm being buffeted by a hell of a wind from the left. Time wise, 27 minutes, and I'd have expected to have been finished and starting to breathe more easily in the actual time trial. But my power is about 50 watts lower, and the wind, I hope, is about 30 miles an hour stronger. So that's keeping my fingers crossed for all of us. Okay, it's 9 kilometres. Well, just coming up to anyway. Flat here, maybe even slightly downhill. Certainly easy. You can see the tram track coming up from the left. The tram line crosses the road just after the finish. Okay, I'm on 9.5 kilometres. And you can see there's the 1 kilometre to go side. My average power is actually 263, just a little bit under 4.5 watts per kilo. My time is just coming up to 30 minutes. So I'm not quite going to beat 30 for this ride. That's 10 kilometres, and there's the 500 metre to go sign. I've done 10 kilometres in exactly 30 minutes, so looking at about 5 kilometres an hour slower than I'd hoped to do on race day. Well, obviously on a course like this, that's heavily dependent on the wind. Makes a massive difference. Last 200 metres, I can see the bridge up ahead. I'm sprinting. Somewhere around here, hit the finish line. You've done it. average power of just over 260 watts, as I say. Managed to miss the tram, which was good. Obviously the finish line is before the tram line, and I strongly suspect that's the major reason for that. Well, I hope you found that useful. If you're riding, well, best of luck, unless you're in the 60 to 64 category, in which case, don't be.